Hey, what's up, everybody? So today I'm coming to you straight out of the Bible. This is Second Chronicles chapter 10. Second Chronicles chapter 10 talks about receiving bad advice from someone. You know, what the consequences could be if you follow this bad advice that you get from people. Because I know with everyone, with myself and yourself and everyone else in the world, we have different opportunities and different things happen to us, and we get advice from different people, and some of that advice is bad. We know it's bad. So what could be the consequences if we follow that bad advice? Second Chronicles chapter 10 in the Bible, I'm reading from the New Living Translation. It says, the northern tribes revolt. Rehoboam went to Shechem, where Israel had gathered to make him king. When Jeroboam, son of Nebat, heard of this, he returned from Egypt, for he had fled to Egypt to escape from King Solomon. The leaders of Israel summoned him, and Jeroboam and all of Israel went to speak with Rehoboam. Your father was a hard master, they said. Lighten the harsh labor demands and heavy taxes that your father imposed on us, then we will be your loyal subjects. Rehoboam replied, come back in 3 days for my answer. So the people went away. Then King Rehoboam discussed the matter with the older men who had counseled his father Solomon. What is your advice? He asked. How should I answer these people? The older counselors replied, if you are good to these people and do your best to please them and give them a favorable answer, they will always be your loyal subjects. But Rehoboam rejected the advice of the older men and instead asked the opinion of the young men. He rejected the older men. Now he's asking the opinion of the young men that he grew up with. Rehoboam rejected the advice of the older men and instead asked the opinion of the young men who had grown up with him and were now his advisors. What is your advice? He asked them. How should I answer these people who want me to lighten the burdens imposed by my father? The young men replied, this is what you should tell those complainers who want a lighter burden. My little finger is thicker than my father's waist. Yes, my father laid heavy burdens on you, but I'm going to make them even heavier. My father beat you with whips, but I will beat you with scorpions. 3 days later, Jeroboam and all the people returned to hear Rehoboam's decision, just as the king had ordered. But Rehoboam spoke harshly to them, for he rejected the advice of the older counselors and followed the counsel of his younger advisors. He told the people, my father laid heavy burdens on you, but I'm going to make them even heavier. My father beat you with whips, but I will beat you with scorpions. So the king paid no attention to the people. This turn of events was the will of God, for it fulfilled the Lord's message to Jeroboam, son of Nebat, through the prophet Elijah from Shiloh. When all of Israel realized that the king had refused to listen to them, they responded, down with the dynasty of David. We have no interest in the son of Jesse. Back to your homes, O Israel. Look out for your own house, O David. So all the people of Israel returned home. But Rehoboam continued to rule over the Israelites who lived in the towns of Judah. King Rehoboam sent Adoniram, who was in charge of the labor force, to restore order, but the people of Israel stoned him to death. When this news reached King Rehoboam, he quickly jumped into his chariot and fled to Jerusalem. And to this day, the northern tribes of Israel have refused to be ruled by a descendant of David. Now, this is really important. We see here that this king was asked a question. He was asked to lighten the burden on these people, that this burden that was imposed by his father. And the king sought advice for this question. He asked older advisors that were advisors to his father, and they said, you need to treat these people better. You need to treat these people with respect. You need to lighten the burden on these people. And the king pretty much just shrugged his shoulders and turned around and ignored what the older people said. And he asked the younger advisors for advice, the advisors that he had grown up with. He asked them for advice, and they told him he needs to be even harder on the people. This is bad advice. This is bad advice when someone asks you for advice or you're giving advice to somebody. Don't tell them to be harder on somebody. Don't tell them bad advice. Don't lead them in the wrong direction. When someone's trying to lead you in the wrong direction and they're giving you bad advice and they're telling you to be hard on somebody, they're telling you to be mean on somebody, don't listen to them. This is the consequence, this story that I just read you. This is the consequence of listening to bad advice, following bad advice, giving bad advice. The king's lead man that was in charge of the labor force was stoned to death. They literally picked up rocks and they threw them and they hit this man so many times with these rocks that it ended his life. They killed him. You know, the Bible also says the power of life and death is in the tongue. If you think you can give bad advice, and if you think you can follow the bad advice that people give you and be rude to others and be disrespectful to one another, you have to remember what I just told you. The power of life and death is in the tongue. That's what the Bible says. These are not my words. These are not my stories. It's in the Bible. If you listen to bad advice and people give you bad advice and you follow this bad advice and you're rude and nasty to other people out there in this world, something bad is going to happen. I'm telling you, it's in the Bible. Something bad is going to happen. And you may not see the results of that immediately. It could take some time. But you can mark me on that. Something bad is going to happen. So think about the bad advice that people are giving you. Try not to give other people bad advice, because these things are important, you know. Like, people are paying attention to what we're saying. People are paying attention to the things that we're doing. You need to read these stories in the Bible, and you need to see what happened to these people that were giving bad advice and doing bad things. It didn't end well for them. It always ends bad. It always ends bad. So just think about the advice that you give to people. Don't tell them to go out and do bad things. Don't give them bad advice. And when somebody approaches you and tells you bad advice, don't listen to them. Don't follow the bad advice. Stay away from the negativity. That's the message that we're getting out of the Bible. As long as you do that, you know, life will be better for you. You may not see the results immediately. It could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months, it could take years. But eventually, the things that you say, the advice that you give other people, and the advice that other people give to you, if you follow that advice, there's going to be consequences to it. There's going to be a price that you have to pay. And there's either going to be something good that comes out of it, or there's going to be something bad that comes out of it. We always have to remember this. The power of life and death is in the tongue. The things that we say and the things that we do are more important than we even realize. So I hope that you take this message to heart. Listen to what I'm saying. These things are important. And this is an important time in the world when people are paying attention to the things that we're saying. People are paying attention to the things that we're doing. Younger people are looking at us and they're looking to us for advice. We have to give these people the right advice. We have to tell these people to go out and do good things in the world, not bad things. Because, you know, the end result may not be someone being stoned to death and a king running away like a coward because he's scared. That might not be the end result, but it's going to be a bad result if you listen to bad advice and you give bad advice. The result is not going to be good. So listen to what I'm saying. I love you guys, and I hope that you'll subscribe to my channel. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the thumbs up button for the like, and I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless you all.